yes, a video I've been looking forward to doing on the channel for a while now. First and foremost, no, Amir Khanouny hasn't been fired, nothing like that, unfortunately. But I thought it would be fun to do a video talking about some possible coaching replacements for the Iranian national team, because as we all know, Amir Khanouny has pissed us all off. We don't want him as the head coach anymore, and the Iranian national team need a new head coach, someone along the lines of what Carlos Queiroz did for the Iranian national team during that 2012 to 2019 period, revolutionize this team, progress it, evolve it into the modern stage of international football. Because currently we're not doing that whatsoever. And as I've said in numerous videos, Khanouny is taking this national team back to the dinosaur ages. And what makes this video super interesting to record for you all is there has been some recent news that former Italian national team head coach Luciano Spalletti has been rumored to be interested possibly in the Iranian national team job. The reports have come out saying that his agent has pushed him as a candidate for the Iranian national team, but nothing has been confirmed in regards to sacking Khanouny, bringing him in. It's just some loose rumors that it looks like him and his agent would be interested in the job, and his agent has even offered Spalletti, saying, hey, you guys should take him as your national team head coach. So with all of that in mind, I decided let's do a video where I'm going to give you all 3 suggestions on possible replacements for the national team head coach, and including an honorable mention giving my thoughts on this Luciano Spalletti rumors, and do I think he would be a good option for the Iranian national team. And this is all keeping in mind a coach that could come in and make a difference for Iran going into this World Cup, and as well help build a new future for the national team. A modern day Carlos Queiroz, because I don't think right now Carlos Queiroz could work the same magic he once did for the national team, because I personally think he's a dinosaur in modern coaching, but a coach that was like what Carlos Queiroz was for us back then, in the modern era. So these are some things I'll be looking at when throwing out these suggestions of coaches, and do I think they qualify under that bracket? Going from realistic options to maybe in some people's eyes unrealistic options. And don't forget to drop your guys' thoughts in the comments down below for other coaches that you think would be good candidates as the Iranian national team head coach. And if you are new to the channel and love Asian football, but more specifically the Iranian national team, this is the channel that you need to be at, so make sure to subscribe. And don't forget to drop a like on this video if you guys want to maybe see a part 2 of other coaches that I should talk about in another video. So make sure to get liking on this video. All right, so first and foremost, Luciano Spalletti is the honorable mention for this video. As I said, there has been some recent reports linking Luciano Spalletti with the Iranian national team. Currently, he is a free agent. He is not employed by any team. His last gig was with the Italian national team back in 2025, was formerly a coach for various Serie A clubs, most notably with Napoli, helping them win their Scudetto back in 2023-2024. And this would be a very high profile hire for the Iranian national team if they made this happen. The only problem is, and this would be my only worry, is with these high profile coaching appointments, we have seen some of them kind of be disrespectful, you could say, in a sense, thinking they're too above it, they should be getting paid a lot of money, that kind of thinking I'm the type of mindset, like we kind of saw with Saudi Arabia and Roberto Mancini, and that didn't end so well, and Saudi Arabia are paying the price for it. That is something I would be worried about if we brought in a guy like Spalletti. But the good sign is it seems like his agent, maybe even him, if his agent's going to recommend him for the job, he's obviously going to have some interest in it. Maybe he wants to be a part of this project, he's interested in it, so that would be a good sign in my book. The big thing for me is with this type of appointment is you got to make sure he's the right type of coach for the national team. A recent example would be like Mark Wilmot. When we appointed him to the Iranian national team, he thought he was the he thought he was above it all and just acted like such a child when he was the coach for the Iranian national team, threw the national team in the absolute gutter. But luckily we were able to rebound from his absolute disaster class to qualify for the 2022 World Cup, thanks to Dragan Skocic. So don't just make an appointment like that because he's high status and whatnot. You need to have a guy, yes, that has some stature, an outsider, European-esque coach coming in to develop some new ideas, because honestly, bringing in an Iranian coach is not the move in my opinion at this very very moment. I mean, Amir Khalenoui is apparently Iran's best coach, but we all are absolutely pulling our hairs out when it comes to him coaching this national team. His decisions, his tactics, they're just bad. I think for the current set of the Iranian national team players, an outsider coming in, again, similar to Carlos Queiroz, he was a guy that was an assistant coach at Manchester United, was the head coach at Real Madrid. Yes, wasn't maybe the most successful at Portugal and Real Madrid and XYZ, but he had a lot of pedigree and great ideas for where the Iranian national team was at that time. And I do think we have now moved past that type of coach to maybe make a bigger step forward. I do think Spalletti would be a pretty good coach for us. The question is, would he help bring in that standard like what Carlos Queiroz did, where he pushed players to go to Europe, develop themselves in their career? I mean, we had so many players from like players that had no business even remotely being close to the national team, pushing themselves to go to Europe because they know, hey, Carlos Queiroz wants his top end talent to be playing in Europe. So if I'm playing there, hey, I'm pipping myself above these PGPL players, and that improved the quality, the floor for the national team. We had so many random Donnies playing in like Poland, Belgium, wherever it may be, and we had a list of players playing in Europe, and it really helped develop the national team. And I'd hope with Spalletti's connections, like what Carlos Queiroz had in Portugal, helping send a lot of players to the Liga NOS, Spalletti can maybe do that for some of our other younger guys going to Serie B, Serie A, and using those connections to get players to Europe and to connect with these dual nationals. All these things really, really matter. So those would be the important things for me if Spalletti was to become the national team head coach. He's got to just basically become Iranian. No more spaghetti, kubi div for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We got to make this man like one of our own, like what Carlos Queiroz became for us. He became one of our own. He invested in improving this national team during those 2 World Cup cycles in 2014, 2018. Next up, I have a pool of 3 coaches that I think are kind of in the same category that are always mentioned as possible options to coach this national team. They aren't necessarily picks that I wanted to talk about in this video, but I think would have been mentioned anyway, so I had to put them in this video. That is Yahya Golmohammadi, Javad Nekounam, and Farhad Majidi. These are all 3 legendary players who used to play for the Iranian national team, have all had varying success in the PGPL. Golmohammadi with Persepolis, Nekounam with Istiqlal, and they've always kind of been in this floating bubble, floating cloud of should they ever become the national team head coaches? They used to play for the national team, were successful for the national team. They've been good coaches in the PGPL, but do they deserve to be the head coach of the national team and take it to the next level? Instantly, right off the bat, I would not want Golmohammadi as the head coach. I just think it would be like a Khalenoui 2.0 situation, and I wouldn't want to see that. He's currently the head coach of Fulad. So out of those 3 options, I think I wouldn't want him. Nekounam, I don't know. It's 50-50. I think he's an okay coach, and I do think he has some good ideas. He has that European pedigree. I mean, he played in Spain, La Liga for years. He's a legend for Osasuna. So I think that really helps him a lot. I think he has those connections in Europe that could help push players to go to Spain or other various leagues around the world, and will bring in that standard that we'd want to see, where we'd want our national team head coach to push players to play at high levels in Europe. I think he would want that for the national team. And I think Farhad Majidi is kind of in that same boat. I think he has a lot of connections, not as much as maybe Nekounam, but has those ideologies of players playing at high levels. Majidi is currently coaching in the UAE for Al Battah. I believe that's how you pronounce the team's name. But unlike with Majidi and Golmohammadi, Nekounam is unemployed. So he would be the most realistic right now when it comes to any of these 3 to actually take over for the national team. All in all, I think Nekounam has the best future to possibly be a head coach for Iran. My only worry is he was such a legendary player, and we have seen when legendary players like when Dai came in to coach the Iranian national team, it just doesn't end so well. It kind of tarnishes their legendary status, and 9 times out of 10, it doesn't even matter for the Iranian national team, specifically for any national team, it just never really ends well. So for all 3 of these options, I wouldn't want to see it, but if I were to pick one from the 3, I would maybe go with Nekounam, just because of that pedigree of him playing in Europe, having those connections. I think having that Carlos Queiroz-esque mindset to push players to go to Europe, play at the highest level, not stay in the PGPL or go play in the UAE like we're seeing right now under Khalenoui. I think that would be more so of a case with a Golmohammadi, less of a case with a Farhad Majidi. But all in all, I think all 3, probably not. maybe Nekunam in the future, but I wouldn't want any of these guys for the current national team right now. Then coming in for my second selection, it is Hervé Renard. Hervé Renard is a guy that I've waxed lyrical on the channel. I've been wanting this guy to be the Iranian national team head coach for ages. Post Carlos Queiroz, I felt Hervé Renard was the perfect replacement and was gonna be the replacement for Carlos Queiroz after he departed in 2019. But because Hervé Renard wanted to close out things with his current national team that he was coaching, the Iranian national team was impatient, wasn't willing to be patient with him, and then brought in Wilmot, and that was a whole disaster. Why couldn't we have just been patient and waited for Renard? A lot of things could have been different for this national team, in my opinion. Renard has coached the Saudi Arabian national team, that went and coached the French women's national team, is now back with Saudi Arabia because, as I mentioned early on in the video, their experiment with Roberto Mancini was an absolute disaster. In my opinion, I just think Renard has kind of run his race with Saudi Arabia, and I guess the real question will be if he can help them still qualify for this upcoming World Cup, because if he doesn't, I think Saudi Arabia will sack him or they'll part ways, potato. I think he would still be a great fit for the national team. I just think the ideas are dry with Saudi Arabia. At some point, the message, the voice for coaches at national team level run dry, the best of the best. After a certain amount of World Cup cycles and years, sometimes it doesn't hit the same anymore. And in my opinion, I think his race has been run with Saudi Arabia. We'll see what happens with them, but I just don't think he has that punch factor with them anymore. But I think he'd be a great fit for us because I think we need some of that Renard magic, that stubbornness, the guy that doesn't take any BS whatsoever from any player and builds that true standard like what Carlos Queiroz had with Iran, that discipline, a proper system for this national team. He's a guy that knows Asian football well, has coached a fellow Asian national team at the highest levels. It takes discipline, it takes strategy, it takes tactics to be able to go out with Saudi Arabia and beat Argentina. Yes, they did fluff their last two games against Poland and Mexico. They weren't able to get the team over the line at the recent 2022 World Cup, but I still think there's something there. And I think with our current group of players, it could be a very healthy mix. So out of anyone I'm going to suggest in this video, I do think Renard is the most realistic and best option for Iran. I think it's just going to be a matter of, will he end up staying with Saudi Arabia? Will he end up getting fired? They'll part ways. It all depends on how their playoff games go. If he ends up not continuing with Saudi Arabia post-qualification because they don't qualify or whatever may happen, I think the Iranian national team should snatch him up, get him in here ASAP, because I think he would build a very strict and positive culture that this national team needs. And I think a lot of these type of players like the Jahanbashks, the Totemis, the younger players like Andipur, Hossein Nejad would really respect his style of coaching. And we would see the youngsters actually play because he did the same thing with Saudi Arabia during that cycle of qualifying for 2022. They brought in a lot of new, hungrier players for the national team. So yeah, I'm going to keep glazing him, but Hervé Renard, man, that's the dude we got to bring in. But the third option could be an interesting curveball that I think the Iranian national team could maybe pull off if a certain player makes the right call to this man. And coming in with my third and final choice, it is Sergio Conceição. Yes, this might be out of left field a little bit. You might think it's unrealistic, but I honestly think it could be a coach we could bring in. We mustn't forget, Conceição, star boy, not his son, who is currently playing at Juve, but his second long-lost son, Mehdi Taremi. They had such a great connection when he was the coach at Porto, where Taremi was banging in goals. He was his main guy no matter what. He stuck by his side. It was the absolute ultimate bromance. Sergio Conceição has that familiarity with our star player right now. He is currently unemployed. He was previously AC Milan's head coach. And a coincidental similarity to Carlos Queiroz is he is Portuguese. And hey, one call from Mehdi Taremi, another call from Carlos Queiroz, and hey, we might be cooking up something here. We could bring him in as the head coach. And I think Conceição would be a very out of left field, interesting move by the Iranian national team. Brings in that European pedigree, has coached at high levels, Champions Leagues, winning titles with Porto and AC Milan. It would be a quite solid and surprising pickup for Asian football. And I think there would be that mutual respect too, because as I said, he has coached our star player in Taremi. He has that respect for Iranian football to a degree. And he has shown he would die on a hill for one of our Iranian boys. Imagine if he's had 11 of them out on that field. He would go to the hills for the Iranian national team. He would push players, be like, hey, go to Europe. Go to Liga Nosh. I got plenty of connections over there. Go to Porto. Let's build the next Mehdi Taremi. I think that would be an interesting choice. But who knows? I think there is an interesting plethora of options for the Iranian national team. And as I said, if you guys want to see a part 2 with other coaching options that you guys might want to suggest, let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. Do you guys agree with what I said? Disagree with the suggestions I made? Let me know your guys' thoughts. Make sure to smash the like button on today's video. Subscribe if you're not subscribed already. And if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to check out this video next. And click over here as I post content weekly on the channel and you don't want to miss it. But boys and girls, I hope you'll have a lovely day.